Our new reports, everyone, suggesting the CIA has evidence showing Russia hacked the presidential election to help Donald Trump. The president-elect says he doesn't believe the claims, saying this is just another excuse by the Democrats for why they lost in November. Watch.
I think it's ridiculous. I think it's just another excuse. I don't believe it. I don't know why. And I think it's just, they talked about all sorts of things. Every week it's another excuse. We had a massive landslide victory, as you know, in the Electoral College. I guess the final numbers are now at 306, and she's, down to a very low number. No, I don't believe that at all.
All right, Trump doubled down on Twitter saying, and I quote, "Can you imagine if the election results were the opposite and we tried to play the Russia CIA card? It would be called conspiracy theory." Joining me right now is a guy who used to work for the CIA. He's also a radio talk show host. Buck Sexton, good to have you here.
Thank you very much.
All right, you used to be at the CIA. What do you make of these claims that the CIA is now, saying that Russia influence this election?
Well, there's what we've known for a few months, and there's what's new here, right? We've known that Russia had some role to play here, that Russia was involved in hacking. The intel community came out a while ago and said that that was an assessment they were confident in. And the intel community never really says 100%. So when they say confident, it usually means they're pretty much all in the same direction. But the purpose of that hacking is the new bit of information that's come out this week, and that's what the Washington Post has been running with, based on unnamed sources from within the CIA who are saying that, well, this was the conclusion that we came to. Now, the FBI has also come out and said they did not come to that conclusion. They do not agree with that assessment. And so you have sort of warring assessments from within the IC, but the media is running with the story that clearly this was done to help Trump, because if they create that narrative, that's not going to be able to be unwound no matter what comes out of any investigation or any facts.
Because the media has a bias against Trump, doesn't like that he's there, and they're trying to explain this all away. I got to tell you, though, it's pretty scary to think that this actually could. I mean, this is a pretty big accusation, and this is a pretty big charge that the Washington Post is out there making. The idea that the Russians would interfere to influence our election in such a way to actually get our president named. I mean, if we don't have the integrity of our democratic process, what are we left with?
It is scary when you put it in those terms, but I also think a necessary context would be that it's very unlikely that this changed the outcome of the election. There's a lot of noise out there. This would just be sort of one bit of a much larger narrative. And I think it's worth pointing out that this is sort of the flavor of the week with why Democrats believe Hillary Clinton lost. Before that, it was fake news. We're hearing all about fake news stories.
And before that, it was racism, it was sexism.
Or it was James Comey throwing the election by coming out a few days before. There's been this narrative that's already been constructed that's not meant to be a criticism of Donald Trump. It's really meant to completely delegitimize the Trump presidency before day one. And what we've seen here is this sort of manifestation of the "not my president" meme that was out there. There are actually protests, I don't know if you saw them here in New York City, with people walking with placards that said, "Not my president." Much of the media feels that way, and the idea that Russia hacked the election and, maybe also threw the election for Trump. They're not sure about that, but they want to insinuate that allows them to pretend that he's not their president either.
And in your view, given that the majority of the members of the media are very much on the left side of things, is there not enough pushback and not enough members of the media saying, hey, wait a second, this doesn't totally add up. He couldn't have actually, or Russia could not have actually changed the outcome of the election?
As a former CIA officer, I can tell you that nobody would ever refer to the CIA as saying, based on a few unnamed sources speaking to the Washington Post, which is how it's being reported, for example, by much of the anti-Trump media, which I think we can say is just most of the media. So that's a really important distinction. It's being said that, the CIA has this, and this is there. At the top of the New York Times today, they said, okay, yes, it is true that Russia intervened in some capacity, according to the intelligence community. What we're not as sure about is that point as to whether or not they were trying to help Trump. Well, that's a really important data point, and they're already trying to push beyond that narrative and suggest, well, some in the CIA say it is, therefore it must be. That's not the case. So we need to wait for more facts to come out. Investigation is fine, but it's all part of this Trump is not the real president narrative.
Let me get very quickly to this other issue. He had this interview, of course, on Fox News Sunday with Chris Wallace, and Donald Trump said, look, I don't need these intelligence briefings every day. Basically, they just kind of keep telling me the same thing over and over again. I'm a smart guy. I can handle it. Take a listen to this. I'll get your reaction on the other side.
Well, I get it when I need it.
But is there some skepticism?
I get it first of all, these are very good people that are giving me the briefings. And I say, if something should change from this point, immediately call me. I'm available on 1 minute's notice. I don't have to be told, I'm like a smart person. I don't have to be told the same thing and the same words every single day for the next 8 years.
I used to work at the CIA. Is that what happens? Do they just keep regurgitating the exact same information and keep presenting the same stuff? And can you blame them? I mean, who wants to hear it for the 100th time?
No, it's not the same information every day. I think a key part of this is going to be how much of this Trump delegates, how much of his national security portfolio he delegates with real specificity to the team he's building around him, which when you put people like General Mattis and General Flynn and others in there, is a really impressive squad of people with deep backgrounds and knowledge on these issues. So how he's going to consume the PDB, that changes with literally every presidency. Some want it offered to them in a different format. Some want someone there to talk to them about it. Some just want to read it. That sort of evolves along with the presidency because they work for the president. So we'll have to see.
You know, really successful people know how to delegate well, that's for sure. And that's something you see a lot of CEOs do. So perhaps his business background once again coming into play there. Buck Sexton, good to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.